I think a good way to start off here is for you to just introduce yourself, who you are, what your business is, and kind of what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Dustin Hailey. I'm the co-owner and founder of Insurance Collective, which is an independent insurance agency here it's based in Denver, Colorado. We've been in business, or we've been an agency for about a year and a half, give or take. So we kind of became a business and sort of started the process at the very end of 2018. So we based in Denver. Our office is downtown, kind of Union Station area, and we provide insurance of all types. Personal lines, auto, home, motorcycle, rental, properties, that kind of thing. Umbrella coverage through various carriers. So we kind of similar to kind of like an insurance broker, as it were, as people sort of understand that term. We shop it out. So we take review people's clients' current insurance, review it, and offer the best rates available, coverage available from the 15, 20 different carriers that we contract through or write through. Primarily, we're focused on personal lines insurance, which is just that, anything you personally own and can insure. Your vehicles, your house, your renter's insurance that's required, motorcycle coverage, your boat, your jewelry, you name it, life insurance, the whole deal. For the person is kind of our primary focus. So that's a little bit about us. It's me and one other person. My business partner, Carrie Tolis, and I left Liberty Mutual Insurance at the tail end of 2018 to start this agency, and here we are.
Cool. You said pretty much cover everything. What made you choose insurance as a career path? And you said you're with Liberty before going and starting up your own shop. What kind of drew you that way? What about it?
Yeah, great question. I'd be lying to you if I told you I aspired to be an insurance agent at a young age, or that was kind of my childhood dream. It'd be a little weird if somebody did say that, but I started my sort of career. My first career job and first career was in the nonprofit space, or kind of the nonprofit world, working with various sort of youth prevention type programs, mentoring organizations, after school programs like, Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, programs kind of similar to that, which is great. I had a degree in psychology from undergrad, and sort of fell into that type of work rather than go to, grad school and pursue that and take on more school debt, that kind of thing. So fell into nonprofit management, which was awesome. Learned so much, met an incredible, group of people, and built an awesome network within my community or communities, and a couple, kind of cities that I lived in. Did that for about 7 years, and don't regret a day of it. It was just kind of a tricky career path. You kind of you reach a point where you have to decide if this is what you're going to do for the rest of your working life, at kind of a relatively, set sort of ceiling in terms of income and opportunity. And that's just being frank, about that. And I had met with long story very short, I was at a bit of an impasse trying to figure out whether I was going to, take the leap and just keep on keeping on in the nonprofit world. I was working with Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Colorado at the time, volunteering with them, involved with them still, which is awesome. But I didn't know which direction to go. And so I had met with kind of a mentor of mine who told me, you can volunteer there, you can be on a board, you can donate, you can still make a difference and change the world. You don't have to work for the nonprofit. That doesn't have to be your path. And it was kind of a Captain Obvious moment, but for me, it was a pretty big realization that there were other opportunities. And so I just started seeking out, people that I had kind of met through that career path, and kind of my network at the time. A lot of people in sales of different kinds, different industries that were selling different products and services, and all across the board, just kind of picking their brain on what that looked like. I always thought I had kind of a knack for that, but I had no idea what that looked like. And so after, several of those sort of coffee meetings and meetups, I stumbled across an opportunity to work with Liberty Mutual through a kind of a friend of a colleague, and didn't know anything about the industry or anything about insurance. I honestly don't know if I knew the difference between Liberty Mutual and Northwestern Mutual and all the other sort of ubiquitous insurance, company names, to be honest. And, but hey, it sounded like a good opportunity, and the rest is history. So that's kind of been my journey there. And full circle, it's been really cool to be on a few boards and committees and still donate and volunteer. And in a lot of respects have more kind of opportunity to do so. Maybe I'm not so closely tied to it, from a vocational standpoint or career standpoint. I can kind of, I don't know, it sort of gives me energy in a different way now to volunteer and kind of be involved with nonprofits. And so
it's awesome. I think that's such an important aspect of just being in business, right? When we get to a certain point, it is, in my opinion, almost necessary to be looking at how to better the community.
Right.
That's you found a vehicle within insurance that allows you to give back and to do the things that really make you fulfilled. In that sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
And so what, you said you're on a couple boards. What are the boards that you're on?
Yeah. So, gosh, I feel like it's been a kind of a weird journey the last few years. From sometimes I'll type in my email address from a previous job. I don't know if you've ever done that before, kind of reference something and kind of forget who you work for or what you're doing. But I am currently fairly involved with the Denver Rescue Mission. So about a year ago, we're coming up on a little bit more than a year. I helped them, or they kind of approached me to help them create a young professional board or a young professional committee. It is not like a chartered board yet, but a young professional group committee, of folks in the community that wanted to get more involved, learn more about Denver Rescue Mission. I had a couple kind of contacts through the nonprofit world is how I kind of got accustomed to those guys and got to know them. So we have a great group. We have kind of a core group of kind of a leadership group of people, committee chairs, that type of thing. But we've got I think there's about coming up on 250 kind of members that are sort of, volunteer at different levels and donate and get involved that way. So it's been fun to kind of grow that and learn, a little bit more about the organization and just homelessness in general and how it intersects with everything else going on in the world and specifically Denver. And so that's probably my most, the volunteer sort of commitment or a nonprofit, responsibility that I spend the most time with now. I was a big brother at Big Brothers Big Sisters for several years and maintained that relationship for a long time, which was awesome. And then we kind of officially closed out that relationship, and now I kind of just volunteer and attend events and things like that with those guys. There's the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. I was a part of a kind of a committee with those guys a couple of years ago. Kind of another young professional type deal, which was really cool. And then just a few others, here in the area. My wife and I are fairly involved with our church as well. We go to a church called Denver Community Church here in Denver, which is, great community, great people. We volunteered with our youth group there for a while. And, we don't have kids. And so we, I don't know, perhaps I seek out opportunities to kind of volunteer, or, I work for an organization that served youth for a long time too. And so it scratches that itch, and maybe we'll never have kids. So
maybe forever it scratches that itch.
Totally. Fingers crossed for sure.
Do you, what I'm trying to look at here is, did you go Liberty Mutual, then kind of go with the nonprofit, and then jump over to Insurance Collective, your business, or was it kind of the other way around there?
Kind of the other way around. So I was, kind of at that crossroads or that impasse in the nonprofit world. And it was sort of you're talking like career path.
Yeah.
I was working up in kind of right out of college. I left the country for about a year. I lived in Australia for a better part of a year, which was great. Mostly just postponing the inevitable of growing up and finding a grown-up job, and just kind of worked in bars and restaurants as long as I could. And then the time came and needed to find a job, I guess. But so when I came back, I worked in Greeley, Colorado, where I managed a small very similar to a Big Brothers Big Sisters type program in Greeley, which was awesome. So that was kind of where I got my start there. And then when we got married, my wife and I got married, I moved, to Denver where she had, gotten a job, and that's kind of what took me to Big Brothers Big Sisters. And so it was kind of, I guess all that to say, I was kind of at the end of my journey there and just trying to decide whether it was time to go back to school and kind of, specialize and then take another approach at a different career avenue that way, or, just make a job change altogether, or maybe another nonprofit. And so that was very much the end of my, time in the nonprofit world full time. Mm-hmm. As far as I see in the cards in life, I guess we'll see. But so from there to Liberty Mutual, and then it's been insurance, since. And so, and early on, it's interesting. So we left Liberty. My business partner and I left Liberty at the same time to start Insurance Collective.
What was that motivating factor of going with your business partner and saying, "Yep, let's do it ourselves"?
It's funny. So my business partner, Carrie, she's awesome, and we work very well. We're very different. We bring very different kind of skill sets and personalities to the table, which is great. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, presents its own challenges as well, but she's awesome. And then early on, working together at Liberty Mutual, she had mentioned to me kind of offhand, talking about a State Farm agent or another kind of person she knew within the industry that had started her own thing, her own agency, and suggested to me, this is like month 2 at Liberty Mutual, hey, would you ever want to start an agency? Like, what would you want to own your own shop? Like, would you ever consider doing that? And would you ever consider doing that, like, with me? And I said, absolutely not. Like, no way. Just kind of learning this thing. I think this is a good fit for me. And so fast forward, 4 or 5 years later, and sure enough, we took the plunge. But to answer your question, it was really just a couple things. One, I think, is the opportunity to own your agency, the opportunity to own your book of business, and just have more control over the whole thing. It's at Liberty Mutual, we were employees, we were W-2 employees there, and had full same kind of license, same kind of authority to bind and issue and modify coverages and all of that, but it was all kind of rolled up into the larger company's sort of book of business, if you will, in exchange for that W-2 kind of employee value proposition. So that's kind of on its face. I mean, that was kind of one of the main driving factors. But I'd say the other, and probably more important, was the ability to offer more options to customers. A lot of times, nothing against Liberty Mutual or any other, top tier A+ rated company out there. But a lot of times when folks would come up on a renewal or rate increase, or had, wanted to shop around or look for other, companies to place their insurance with, we were kind of left holding the bag with insurance. There were a couple other options we had, but it was really their product, their offering, and that was it. And so as an independent agent and an independent agency, we can, do just that. We can shop it through all these other carriers and truly work for the client and not the insurance company or the insurance carrier, which is, I drastically underestimated the value of that. And it's proving itself, more and more every day that's pretty awesome. So
would you say, that's a big reason for the success that you're having right now of being able to work for the client rather than the other way around, and focusing in on what their needs are and kind of making, doing the shopping for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's kind of undeniable that is a huge part of the value that we add, and kind of part of the whole offering to our now clients and potential clients. I think there's always that question though, right? Was it this? Was it hard work, or was it luck? Was it something you did a week ago, or something you did 10 years ago, building a relationship that led to something else? I mean, a lot of things we'll never know. But but yeah, the numbers are definitely there. I mean, our closing ratios, our retention rate, even though we're only a year old, it all looks pretty good. And so we're kind of, just kind of leaning on that and just continuing to, it's so much of it is about data too. I mean, there's really not, I'd love to say, that it'll be nice to say in a few years, that year in, year out, that here are the averages. Here's, enough data points over the last few years to kind of confidently have some predictability into the future, but we'll get there.
Okay.
So,
yeah, no, it is. So once you, maybe not like a full walkthrough, but tell me a little bit about what someone coming to you would expect with you looking at their insurance. What considerations should they have going into the place? Maybe some ideas of where someone should be thinking about to get something insured. Talk a little bit about that experience from the client's perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, so much of personal lines insurance in the last, as far as my kind of tenure in the industry in the last 5 to 6 years, has become fairly commoditized. I mean, it's a pretty competitive space where there's a lot of big players trying to, capture market share and acquire more customers. That being said, it's pretty fast paced. So when somebody is shopping for insurance, it's usually by the time our phone rings or someone is referred to us, there's typically a reason, right? They had a rate increase with their current carrier, or more often than not, some life event is happening, right? They're buying a house, they're refinancing their mortgage, they're buying a car, they're doing something that's a heck of a lot more exciting than in talking about insurance that sort of prompts the insurance conversation. And so enter insurance agents, to kind of open it up, take a review or review it, kind of take a look at what they have. And it's fairly, I don't want to say easy, but it's pretty straightforward, I guess, to kind of have a 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the phone. We can review their auto, their home, their auxiliary coverages, motorcycle, boat, jewelry coverage, whatever it is, and kind of look at it sort of, I don't like to say the term apples to apples, because we'd like to think that we offer, something better than what they have now, but it's a true review of what they have, kind of explaining their coverages, comparing it to the rate, deductibles. And so I'd say 10, 15 minutes of their time pulling up their current insurance and just having a very informal but thorough conversation into what their insurance coverage looks like now. And more importantly, how can we kind of get them into that house when it comes to insurance, and how can we guarantee that the house is, properly insured and their cars are properly insured. And so it's kind of more about being a part of that other team, or that entire team of folks that are helping them get the house, the realtor, the mortgage broker, that referred them to us, the whole family, people, in terms of talking about insurance, if that makes sense. And ideally, we don't have, it's not a lengthy conversation, right? I mean, in a perfect world, we would review the insurance, kind of go through it. There's a lot going on when you're buying a house, and signing all the DocuSign forms and all the closing documents, and then you feel like you do it again and again and again. Insurance is one important piece of that, but we certainly don't want to scare people away by making it feel like this overwhelming, massive conversation. I think a lot of times people think it's going to be really complicated, and it's going to take a lot of time to review their insurance, when in reality it's not that complicated. It doesn't take that long.
Good. You mentioned properly insuring the home and properly insuring the car. From personal experience of getting in a car accident a couple of years ago, I just got insurance through a carrier's website. Just said, yep, whatever the lowest one is, boom, boom, boom. Great, now I have insurance. And I ran into some troubles by doing that with when things went bad.
Sure.
When and like if 2-3 years went by, not a problem, paid for it, and then as soon as there was a problem, it became a problem.
Sure.
So could you talk a little bit about the risks someone goes through with getting insurance in that way, and what are the benefits of knowing their insurance agent like yourself?
For sure. Yeah, oftentimes customers will call us, we'll review people's current insurance, and it's comforting to see that their current agent or their parents' agent or whoever they sort of inherited this insurance agent or agency from has written it correctly, but it's pretty clear to us, pretty clear to me when I look at somebody's, that's my cat in the background.
I heard it.
He's being so rude. You're being so rude, Murphy. Oh, buddy. But it's pretty clear to me when they haven't had that conversation and haven't had that review. Two parts to your auto insurance. For example, we have your liability coverage, which obviously protects you against damage that you cause to other people and other people's property. Pretty straightforward. And those are limits. There's a state minimum limit, which is well beneath what we recommend customers carry. And oftentimes people carry that state minimum limit for their bodily injury, their property damage, medical payments, uninsured motorist coverage, and they have 4, 5 cars, 3 drivers, 5 drivers on their policy. They own a property, maybe multiple properties, and it's just scary to think about the what ifs, right? The cost could be levied or could be, they could be held responsible for in the case of an at-fault accident where they're utilizing their insurance. My cat very well may walk across the screen. But yeah, I mean, there's a long list of things that they could be, held responsible for when it comes to, in the case of an accident. I mean, the personal injury lawyers, the Frank Azars of the world can come after anything. Can I say his name on here? I don't know if that's YouTube. Okay. Fair enough. But yeah, better safe than sorry, so anytime we have that conversation with folks, it's important to just reiterate that, and explain how important that is. And that grows with you. If you have, this level of coverage and you're a single person with one car, here he comes, with one, buddy, you're the worst. One car, you rent an apartment, you don't have, kids or other liabilities, maybe a slightly lower level of coverage is okay. But as you get married, have kids, buy a house, acquire more, accumulate more wealth, there's more to protect, and that has to the punishment has to fit the crime there. And so that's sort of the natural lead into that conversation. And yeah, I think that hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so what I'm hearing here is when you start acquiring more assets, there's more to protect. And if you're not getting it looked at the right way, and you're going kind of that cheap route for saying, yeah, I need home coverage. What do you got?
Right.
Whoever.
Right.
Not having someone like yourself actually sit down and review the policy. There can be holes, there can be risks, there can be more liability.
Right.
Right.
And yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of, just like in any industry, I'm sure, any sort of, service or, insurance type product industry, there's misnomers and misconceptions about how things work and how certain companies, offer certain things and the reputation of certain companies, all the way from the Geicos and the General, all the way to USAA, Liberty Mutual, Allstate, State Farm, Nationwide, these sort of top-rated companies. There's a lot of different ways to properly cover yourself. And every company is going to kind of have a sweet spot and kind of a target market that they're after. So it's, again, back to that value proposition, being able to sort of cater or really shop through the right companies for customers is, I think, is peace of mind. Peace of mind for people that they know that there were a bunch of options and they got the best one, and so the rate for that single person with one car that rents an apartment will probably be better through Progressive than it would be through a Nationwide or Travelers or Safeco, Liberty Mutual type companies. But for the married homeowner with multiple vehicles and multiple properties, Geico would not offer the same rate, and maybe not even the same kind of coverages. And so it's not one size fits all. It's important to have the conversation for sure.
So go see you to get that custom coverage there.
That's right. That's right.
Nothing more. Good. Yeah. Awesome. So, I want to also touch on the experiences that you have been having as a business owner too, with the current climate, with the COVIDs out there running around crazy. Have you seen any impact to your industry at all are people asking certain questions around that? Kind of what sort of things are happening?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think every business owner, every human right now on the planet is kind of asking, asking these questions and trying to decide how it's affecting them and seeing how it's affecting other people. It's funny. So because we're still a relatively new insurance agency and a new business, it's kind of hard to differentiate or really know how much of the kind of the novel experiences that we're having as an agency, as a business, are strictly due to COVID and the external, everything going on right now, and how much of it is just being a new business owner, so we can, I guess we'll maybe see, I don't know. But as far as we can tell, and as far as we've experienced thus far, we're not, we haven't been immediately affected or impacted adversely by COVID in any way in any significant way. And I think there's a lot of sort of speculation or guesses around that, but the product is still the same. The way that the insurance is sort of rated and calculated is still the same, at least for now. The customer base, the market that we're after is still the same. So there's more similar than is different. And I think that and on top of that, you have an entire, market of people that are now finding themselves at home with a little more time on their hands and trying to watch their budgets and save money where they can. So it kind of leads into this, natural conversation around or review of insurance, and maybe we can save them some money there. And so it's been, with all due respect to people that have been, impacted by this in a significant way, we're doing okay, amidst this. And so, but it is interesting, and it is challenging to have conversations with customers that are, losing jobs, being laid off, salary cuts, health concerns of people, in and out of the hospital and the whole deal. And so,
I would imagine it's funny you mentioned people are just sitting around looking at the stuff that they have too, and being like, wonder what that coverage looks like. I could just picture it.
For sure. Yeah, there's definitely been a handful of conversations with folks that just maybe they have a little too much time on their hands now. But hey, that's what we're here for. Here to have the conversations, and honestly, a big part of that too is just, I don't know. We've been trying our best to really just listen to clients, referral, partners and business partners of ours, to kind of hear their story. We're fortunate enough to be in an industry that, at least for now, is somewhat insulated or not as immediately impacted by COVID and by by this global pandemic. But a lot of our clients are, and a lot of our, business partners are. And so it's, I think it's important for us to just listen, just take that extra time that we have to kind of see how we can help and just kind of be there. And so that's been good to be able to do that.
And one of the things I always suggest in terms of if people want to save money, it's it's not eat less, for instance. It's not, shop less quality food or something like that. It's what are those monthly recurring things that are coming through, like insurance, like rents, like mortgage, or some of those big recurring consistent expenses. Being able to get a review from someone like you who has the ability to shop around, that's when you're really going to start to save on your budget. Not, I'm not going to, get because eating healthy is sometimes more expensive. I'm going to get the ramen instead of the good foods or something like that. That's don't sacrifice your health for budget. Look at the big ticket items that are reoccurring and see if you can reduce that. And I think you fit that bill there, being able to help people out in terms of that budget. So that's, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. There's pretty early on, I think this was sort of the first month of COVID, the Tiger King part of COVID. That now seems like a long time ago in a very different context altogether than the version of it now, the kind of the episode of it now.
Yeah.
There was an article, I believe it was the Wall Street Journal that was the first to post this article. And you might need to fact check me on this, but I think it was American Family Insurance and maybe Allstate or State Farm, another big one, basically paid or kind of put this messaging out there to their clients that they were going to be reimbursing clients for millions of dollars to their clients because people are driving their cars less. And it was sort of a kind of a relief credit fund. And then one at a time, it was kind of the domino effect, right? These massive insurance carriers, personal lines insurance carriers announced this, that a lot of the other companies, if not all of the other carriers, kind of followed suit, which is great marketing. And it's a good gesture, as well. But it was interesting how, once that article was published, I think we received like 15 phone calls that day and the next couple of days asking about, well, what about my carrier? Are we going to get money? And how does that work? And what's happening there? And well, Allstate's doing this, and American Family is doing this. What about the carrier that you placed me with? And so I kind of put everybody in the hot seat, the agents, the carriers, to kind of figure out how to respond to that and kind of deal with just the optics of all of that. It was interesting. It was really interesting because what we're really talking about is $30 to $60, $70 a household for a month at a time, kind of, agreed upon by the carriers, which is something. Insurance companies typically don't give their customers money back. But it is also an interesting, it's a pretty fractional amount in the grand scheme of things, but just brilliant marketing too. And so that was a kind of an interesting, kind of another one of those misnomers or kind of a burden that was sort of placed on the insurance agent and agency to, kind of back themselves out of or explain. But it also allowed us for good conversations around how insurance works and what we think, and kind of add value and build that sort of authority with our clients too. So.
Awesome. Good. Well, that's good that you're able to do that and go fight for your clients too and get the best rates to help them in these times too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a tough piece. So, what from that personal side, if there is a time to get a review of the current policy, is there a certain events or, I know you mentioned life events, big purchases, things like that to get a review, but just in a trajectory of a year, is there a certain time or something that people can be looking out for, say, oh, it's probably a good time to get this review. Maybe I could find a better deal somewhere.
Yeah, great question. It's interesting. I think a good way to think about it, a good way that part of me that I like to think about it is if you don't know who your insurance agent is and what kind of coverage you have for your, it's usually your home insurance because it's something that you don't really pay out of pocket. It's oftentimes paid through your mortgage, so you kind of forget about it. If you don't know who the agent is there and you can't remember a review of that insurance, probably time to take a look at the policy. And same goes with your auto insurance. If you don't know who the agent is, if you don't know how much you're paying and what the deductibles are, if there are some gaps in your kind of general understanding of what your insurance covers, probably time to have a review of your insurance. I would say it's probably those types of cues, but for the informed customer that could say that, yeah, I had a review with my State Farm guy or my my parents' insurance agent that was introduced to me, that kind of thing. I'd say every 2 years. It's important to kind of take a look at your coverage. My cat is being the worst. I'm going to lock him in the bathroom. Sorry, Steven.
Not a problem.
Thought that cat through. Should have expected as much from him. He's very, very vocal. But yeah, I would say as a rule of thumb, it is every 2 years. There's only so much, even for me, even for insurance agents, there's only so much insurance that you can and want to talk about, want to review. So for the consumer who is reviewing their insurance, I'd say every couple of years, take a look at it and kind of see what the rates have done. Is the company was it consistent? Was there every insurance policy, every insurance company takes rate increases. That's just kind of the way it goes. But how much did it go up? Did you have a claim? Did you have, what did you change to the policy? Did you add a teenage driver? Did you get married? What changed from last year to this year? And have we had an opportunity to kind of take a look at that? So I would say kind of cues or opportunities for it to become top of mind anyway.
Okay. That makes sense. So any type of change and just a good idea to do a review on a consistent basis, whatever that consistent basis is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on the calendar, that's what we do with our clients as well, and just trying to develop good habits as we build this agency. We want to, not only do we want to acquire awesome customers, but we want to keep them on the books as long as we possibly can. But in order to do that, because it is a competitive market, because there are a lot of ways to go about insuring your stuff, you need to be in good graces with your clients, and stay top of mind. And so we'll set a calendar review for the month or two before their insurance renews. Take a look at the upcoming renewal and just kind of tweak as necessary and make recommendations.
Yeah, that follows suit what you first said there of really putting the client first and working for them, right, and really keeping their best interest in mind. So
for sure, absolutely.
I know you're not so much on that commercial side, but you are a business owner and you are in the insurance field. I'm curious, what are some things that business owners should be thinking about with maybe not only the commercial insurance, the liability insurance that goes with owning a business, but what are some considerations outside of that you might recommend for them to be looking at, whether it's during this time with the COVIDs or any other time just throughout the business? What do you say to that?
And so we kind of touched on this earlier, but my business partner and I, with our experience at Liberty Mutual and creating our agency, creating Insurance Collective, has been primarily personal lines insurance. We are licensed to sell commercial insurance. We have the ability to do that. We're pretty new in the commercial world. So for better or worse, we're learning on the fly. And as customers, as business, customers, we've been able to kind of write and understand our own insurance. We carry errors and omissions insurance and cyber insurance and general liability and all these things that we've kind of nominally understood, but we didn't really fully understand how it works. And so it's a good way to learn. I mean, that's always how I've kind of learned, is just hands-on or my own auto insurance, my own motorcycle insurance and life insurance, to kind of use myself as a guinea pig. So that's been good. That's been good to kind of learn that way. And we do have a handful of commercial clients that we've been able to take care of. I think the value that we provide on the commercial side currently, as far as quoting and insuring customers, has been in the ability to partner with some other commercial people that came from that background. So we kind of share business that way for now. Pretty small industry in that respect, in the different kind of agencies and markets that we write through. So not to on the question, but it's we'll get there. I think we, for the next couple of years, we're going to be building this agency on the personal line side to then hopefully free ourselves up to truly kind of dig into commercial and learn it. So that's kind of my weak answer to your question on that front. As far as COVID is concerned, we've definitely jumped on a lot of conference calls with the different carriers and kind of insurance, principals to kind of just leaders in the industry. And it's a little bit of a mess right now with commercial insurance and how that actually applies to COVID. It's kind of a big question mark, and I won't go into too much detail because I'll probably confuse not only you but myself and exactly how it works and how it doesn't work. But basically, there's a big kind of a big riff or a big question mark around kind of business interruption coverage. So COVID happens, businesses are shut down, by civil authority, like they can't be open, but insurance on its face, as the policy's written, really doesn't have coverage for that, because there's no way to prove that the property, the supply chain, the goods, the goods and services that they're providing were directly and solely impacted materially by COVID. And so there's some other kind of avenues that businesses have kind of gone through to try to get coverage there. Obviously, we have relief money and these other sort of, things, but from an insurance standpoint, it's a little bit of a mess. And so it's more often than not, the answer is going to be, there's no coverage there. So I guess to answer your question in terms of what they can do and what they can do to prepare, read everything, read through your policies, understand what it covers, what it doesn't cover. Yes, insurance is not that complicated, but it is as complicated as the policy is written, and insurance is an intangible product that you pay for, that you hopefully never have to use, but when you do, you want to know what it covers. So review your documents, have somebody else review them with you, understand what's going on, stay informed, document everything. And so that's kind of my thought there.
It's this whole situation is bringing in a lot of considerations that people haven't had to consider in the past.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to be in those conversations of, what should we know that we don't know?
Right. Absolutely.
Those are always the tough ones of, I don't know what I don't know.
For sure. One thing and again, learning on the fly with business, insurance, but it's one realization for me in the business realm, it's very much case by case. And so, it's a little bit more one size fits all with personal lines insurance. I mean, commercial insurance is just a much longer process to kind of get it underwritten, to get it quoted, to actually issue and kind of get the insurance in place. There's less wiggle room with it, if that makes sense. The kind of discounts and multi-policy discounts and bundle discounts, loyalty type, savings doesn't really exist on the commercial world or in the commercial world. It's very much about, again, what it covers and what it doesn't cover. And if you do have a loss, which that's what your insurance is there for, what have you done as a business to mitigate that loss happening again? And I think that's just as a general rule and general kind of thought there is coming out of something like this unprecedented, novel time. What, if it happened again, what do we have in place now? What's our safety plan? What's our, what types of policies or coverages or procedures do we have in place to sort of mitigate the effect that it had on our business the first time coming around the second time? That would be my only other kind of thought there.
Yeah, no, good. I'm glad you bring that up, because I'm one of the people that do believe that the second wave will be coming, and I'm not sure we're going to get the same type of assistance we got this first time.
Right.
It's important to have those things in place and really understand, okay, what are we going to do?
Totally.
If it does come back around, and get those contingencies in place and figure out what if insurance covers it, or if you can, or like that.
Absolutely.
It's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Dustin. I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me today and talk insurance and make a fun topic even more fun to talk about.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you would suggest people who are watching this to be looking out for that we may not have covered, or any final thoughts on insurance and what to be considering when you're looking at it? I feel like we pretty much covered it. I mean, I'm sure there's a million other thoughts that'll pop in my head as soon as we hop off this call here, but I would just kind of reiterate, to not underestimate the importance and the value in opening up a conversation around your insurance, and just kind of having a thorough review of what you've got, and building that relationship with the person that's helping you insure it, yeah. Cool. Well, thanks again, Dustin. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon here. Appreciate your time again, and you take care. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steven.
Thanks.